Hello, my friends. Today we're learning mציעא Daf Tes. We're starting from the top, from the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Mekabel Soda Mechaver, someone who got a field from his friends Lashonim Otos for a small amount of years, and Rashi explained that means less than 7 years. Lo Yizraena Pishton, he can't plant in it flax because it ruins the ground. The Eino Bekura Shikmo, and he doesn't have a right to cut off from the trees, from the sycamore tree. Rashi explained that doesn't mean specifically Dafka sycamore tree, means any tree that doesn't bring fruit. You can't cut off the tree to use the branches for wood or whatever he needs it for, because it won't grow in those years back again to what it was when he got it. Kiblo imenu l'sheva shonim, if he got it for Zayin shonim, 7 years, Shana Rishona, in the first year, Yizraena Pishton, he could plant it flax, because by the time he gives it back, it will be strong again. Ve'eshloi Bekura Shikma, and he could take from the branches of the tree, because after 7 years, it's going to grow again. Omar Abaye, Bekura Shikma enlo, he doesn't, if he had less than 7 years, he can't cut off the trees, B'shach Shikma Yeshloi, but when he leaves, we estimate how much did it grow in those years, and he gets the value of how much it grew more. He doesn't even get what it went up in value. Basically, we have a kasha on Rava, someone who gets a field from his friends, we estimate for him. So the Gemara, my love, what do we estimate? Doesn't it mean b'shvach shikma? And we could see that you do estimate the value that went up in value. So the Gemara, we estimate the value of the vegetables and the beets that grew in his field. So the Gemara, the vegetable and the beets, uproot it and take it with you. Why do we estimate it? So the Gemara, because it's not the day of the shuk and they never had fridges, so it's going to go ruined. It's going to get ruined. So we leave it in the field and let the owner get it back and he'll deal with it. And the value the value of these vegetables he has to pay to the person who was in the field. Toshma, come and listen. Someone who got a field from his friend who rented the field, and Shviz Shmita came, Shomim Loi, we estimate for him. So the Gemara, Shviz mikom afkar. Shviz is not a time when the field goes back to the owner. What are you talking about? What's going on? Ella Ema, it must be a mikabas or the mechavera, someone who rented the field from his friend. Vigia Yovel, and Yovel came, and Yovel is a time when fields go back to the owner. Shomim Loi, we estimate where it went up in value. So the Gemara, Vakati, still doesn't make sense. Yovel mi mafkas kablonos, does Yovel take away from a rental? Let's miss only something that's sold forever, that's Yovel comes and gives it back to the Bailim. But here was a rental, so Yovel doesn't give it back to the Bailim. So the Gemara, Eloema, we have to change another thing. Someone who buys a field from his friend, Yovel, and Yovel came, and then Yovel makes the field go back to the owner. Shomim, we estimate for him. So the Gemara, and if you're going to tell me that it's talking about like we were doicha before, and we said Shomlo b'yarka v'silka, it's talking about where the market day never came, and we estimate the value of his vegetable and his beets. Silka v'yarka b'yovel afkeru, the vegetables is hefka and yovel, anyone could take it. So the Gemara, lelav shvach shikma, it must be talking about the value of the shikma that went up in value, so we could see we estimate it. So the Gemara, Tirgum Abaye explained it, Aliber Durova, that it won't be a cash and Rova, shiny also in Domar Crow, because it said in the Posuk, V'yotzo Memkar Bais, that the sale goes back, Memkar Choizel, the sale goes back, Shvach Eino Choizel, but the benefit that went up in value doesn't go back to the owner, and therefore you give it to the buyer. So the Gemara, Benigma Minei, let's learn from Shviz to everywhere else. So the Gemara, Hosom knows, Vini Ma'aliyahu, over there the person bought it, so anything that went up in value, it's his. Yovel afkat malku, but then the Torah says that by Yovel it goes back to the owner, but what went up in value goes to him. But over here it was just a rental, so when it went up in value that the trees got thicker, he doesn't get that shvach. Rav Papa Kobil Aralas pastor, Papa got a field to plant it with hay. Kotchu Beitali, some trees started growing there. Kiko Mistalek, when he was leaving Omalu, he told the landlord, I want the benefit the way it went up in value that the trees grew. Omar Reb Sheisha, Breder of Idil Rav Papa, Ela Ma'ato Dikla V'olim, if you had a field that you went in to get the fruit of the palm tree and it became thicker, you'd want the benefit that it became thicker, these palm trees. Amalei, no, awesome it's when I go down in a palm tree I go for the fruit of the palm trees, I don't go for the tree to get thicker. And no, but me myself, I went down to get the benefit of anything that grows. Furthermore, Kiman Kabai, this going like Abai Doma Beshvach Shikmo Yeshloi, that he gets where it went up in value, they became thicker. Furthermore, Philotemiker of a really a proper could fit in also like Rav Hossam over there. When we talk about the sycamore getting thicker, less lipsate, it doesn't have any loss that the sycamore got thicker. Hocha, over here that trees grew in the field, he could say that because in that place he couldn't grow anything. If that's what we're talking about, might say the landlord's going to tell him, what did that make you lose? Yoda Aspasta, a handful of hay that could have grown in the place where the trees grow. Shkol Yoda Aspasta, let me give you a handful of aspasta. Bezil and go. Omalei, so our Papa said, no, Ano Kurkum Rishkara boy, I'd plant very expensive spices that are worth a lot, and in that place I could have planted something that's worth a high value. Omalei, so the landlord told him, since you said that you'd plant something that grows in 1 year and you cut every year, you have to replant it, that all your planning was to something that you plant and you take it. Shokol kurma, take it, you don't have the value of the full tree, you only have the value that you're going to cut. So you want a tree, okay, I'll give you the value of how much a tree is worth to cut down for firewood, but I'm not going to give you the value of the trees to stay for fruit. Rabbibi the son of Abai, Kobil Ara, he got a field, the Ardole Mishinusa, and he made like at the side of the field, he made like a hill to separate it from the other fields. Some trees grew on it. When he left, he told the landlord, I want the benefit, the value that went up, that these trees are growing. Omar Poppy told him, since you come from someone who's cut from Eli, who his kids died, you're also saying things that make no sense, are cut. Even Rav Papa only in the case because he has a pseda, because in that place where the trees grew in the middle of the field, he could have planted stuff. You're not planning to plant on the edge of the field where you made a hill, so you had no pseda that anything grew, and therefore you have nothing to do with it and go, and you don't get anything. Rav Yosef Abaleu Shatler, he had this person who planted trees in his field for him. Shochiv, he passed away, and he left 5 son-in-laws. Omar, so Rav Yosef said, until now I had 1 person taking care of the field. Now I have 5. Until now, there's only 1 person. He knew he has to do the job himself, and he'd make sure to make the job. Now that there's 5, each one will trust that the other one's going to do the job, and they're going to cause me to lose. So he told them, if you take what your father-in-law made this field better, mistaliktu, and you leave mutter, very good. And if not, mistalikna, I'll kick you out, lechu, and I won't pay you anything. The planter who passed away, Yerushin delay, his people who Yerushin, mistalkinalu, they don't get anything. So the Gemara Belavniusu, and it's not true that if a planter, someone who plants trees dies, his Yerushin do get from what he made it better. This planter of vines. The Omar Lehu, that he told the landlord, if I cause you damage, mistalikna, I'll leave. Afsid, he caused damage. But he caused damage, but also there was an up value in the field, but he caused damage. Let's say he cut down by mistake a big tree or something. You could tell him to leave and he doesn't get any benefits. He does, when he leaves, he gets the benefit of what he made the field better. Moide Rav Kahana, and Rav Kahana agrees, if the one who planned said, if he said clearly, if I cause you loss, I'm going to leave and I'm not going to take anything why put up value in the field, you kick him out without any shvach. Rav Amar, no, you can't do that. Asmachti, it's like a bet, it's like a if. If he would know that he's going to call loss, he would never agree to this. Asmachta loikanya. So the Gemara, Rav Amar, you know what's the difference from the Mehodet Nan from we learned in our mission and Mציעא over that a person who accepts a field to work in it and make produce, and he says, if I won't plant and I won't do any work, I'll pay full value as if I did plant in it. So, and we say that he needs to pay if he doesn't plant anything. What's the difference? It's also asmachta. So the Gemara, Hossa, my dafs mishalim, where you cause damage, they didn't plant anything, you need to pay. Hocha, over here, my dafs is where he caused a loss, we take off from the way he made profit. Vihidoch, and the rest of the profit, we give it to him. Why should you lose that? So the Gemara, Runia, to name a person, Shokla, he was a planter, the Ravina have a Ravina. Afsid, he caused damage. Shalke, he kicked him out. Also, like Omalei Chazimar, have a look. Mike Obidle, what Ravina caused me. Omalei, so Rava told him, Shaper of it. He did well. It's correct what he did. Omalei Holoyitrobi, he never told me, he never warned me before. Omalei Loitzrichina, Loitzrichalatres, he doesn't need to warn you, he can kick you out. Rava Letamei, Rava fits into what Rava holds. The Omar Rava Mikr Dadiki, a teacher of kids, Shatla, someone who plants trees, Tafcha, someone who's cuts, who's a shoichet, Ve'umna, someone who takes out blood, or someone who's a moyel, the Sapa, Masa, Kuftesa, and base, and the barber of town, Kulam, all these people, Kumutrim V'ondindom, is as if they were told that if you don't do the job well, you won't get paid. Klol the mills, so the farm rule of it is, Kol Pseid de Loyota, anything that's a hefsed, that you can't do it, that's it. You lost money because of him. Even if you never warned the person, it's as if he's warned. And the reason why there's a pseid in all these people, so a teacher, Rashi explains, because once you teach a kid something wrong, it's hard to teach him correct. Shtola, because once you plant something not good, that's it. And tafcha, if you shecht it not good, or you do a bad bris, or you take out the blood not correctly, and our barber does a bad haircut, it's a bad haircut now, what could I do? How shtola this planter, the Omalahu, that he told the landlord, I want to get all the benefit I put in the field, let's say the agreement was that he's going to plant the trees and he's going to get half of the value of the fruit, he's going to get half the fruits for the next 10 years. He says, I want to get all that value because I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. Also came Rav Papa Bar Shmuel, this case came in front of Rav Papa, the son of Shmuel, Omalahu. So he said, give him what he profited to the field. Why? Only he did the benefit by planting the trees. The landlord gave the land, and the landmaid also together the trees, but you need the land as well. So Rav Papa Bar Shmuel explained, no, I meant half what he was meant to get before. I didn't mean everything. So he told him, until now, the landlord would get half, the palga, and the one who planted the trees half. And he would take care of the trees. Ashto, now that he's going up to Israel, let's say after 5 years, he has to give a oris to finish the work of the 5 years that's left. And oris who goes into the field without planting the trees gets a third. So if I give the one who planted half of all the years, and plus now in the last 5 years I have to give a third to the oris, the new oris who comes in, the balabais is going to lose. Omalei, he told him, Riva the shvacha kamin, I meant a quarter of the profit. So Rav Ashi Ramema, so Rav Ashi thought to say, what did that mean? Riva do danka. So let's say that the profit is 6. So when he said a quarter, it doesn't mean a quarter that's 1.5. A quarter of 6 is 1.5. No, a quarter that's a third, a sixth. So what's a quarter that's a sixth? That means the balabais now will give it to Oris, and the Oris takes a third, so he's going to take 1.5. So now the balabais is left with 4.5. A quarter of that is a quarter of that is 1.5. Wait, I'm making a mistake. Let me see a second. Oh yeah, sorry. There is shvach 6. So he puts in a new oris who gets a third. That means he gets 2. So there's 4 left for balabais. Out of the 4 left of balabais, he gets a quarter. That means he gets 1. Because the balabais has to walk away with 3. That means the half that he was promised that in the original deal, the deal with the shtola was that he gets half. So the balabais gets a half, that's 3. And the shtola only gets 1. The Omar of Rav Menyumi, brother of Nechumi, the Rav Menyumi, the son of Rav Nechumi, said, "Ba'asr the shokil, shatla palga, in a place where someone who plants trees in a field gets a half. Arisa, someone who doesn't plant trees, he just goes to take care of the field. Tilsan, he gets a third. Aheish dola, the planter, the boy Lesteluku, he wants to leave the job. Yavinele shvacha, we give him his shvach." And we kick him out. In a case, we calculate that the balabais shall lose out by him leaving early. So if when we said a quarter, it means do avadanka that's only really a 6, and it's a quarter of what balabais is getting after he pays the oris. Shapir makes sense that the balabais won't lose; he's going to walk away with 3. Elo omris. But if you're going to tell me riva mamish, it means a quarter of 6. That means he gets 1.5. And then he has to pay also the oris 2, because he has to pay him a third of 6, that's 2. So the balabais is going to walk away with 2.5. He's going to lose half of what he was meant to get. The balabais is going to lose palgadanka, half of a 6. That means half a dinner. And doesn't make sense. Why should balabais lose? So it must be when we said a quarter, it means a quarter of what balabais gets. Only 1 the shtola gets. Omar Rav Acha brother of Yosef Rav Ashi. No, v'lei the shtola could tell the balabais and manto diloch havle larisa. Let's do like this. There is a value here of 6. You give 3/4. You take 3/4 of the field. That means 4.5, and give that to the oris. So the oris is going to get a third. A third of 4.5 is 1.5, and you get your 3. Now the other 1.5, I'm going to sell it for someone for 1.5. And therefore I'll walk away with 1.5. I don't want to walk away with 1. So let it inside. So you give your 3/4 to the oris and pay him 1.5. But no, on me, the last 1.5, I'll do it for what I want, and I'm going to sell it for someone for 1.5. And the Maharsha asks, how did it make sense? If the whole value that's left for the shtola is 1.5, someone has to do the work. Who's going to ever buy it for 1.5? It's only worth 1 because you need to pay a oris to do the work. And Maharsha. So Omar, so Rav Ashi told him, Kimotis l'shchitas kochim, when you get to the sugya of kochim, Tova, actually come ask me. So Rashi says 2 pshat. And 1 pshat is that he says, wow, that's a bomba kasha. It's a very good kasha, and therefore when we come to the hard sugyas of kochim, I'll answer you on this kasha. I'll answer, come ask me kashas there, because that's very deep sugyas. I need someone clever like you to ask me kashas. The other pshat in Rashi says that he means he was delaying him off. He says that I'm not answering you now. When we get to the next sugya of kochim, then I'm going to answer you. Gufa, we just learned, Omar Menyumi brother of Nechumi, Be'asra, in a place the Shoki Shatla Palga, the planter gets a half. Arisa, and someone who doesn't plant gets a third. Tilsa, Aish Dola, the planter, the boy is to look, they want to leave. Yavinele Shvoche, we give him his profit in a way, Misalkinelan, we kick him out. We calculate in a way, Ke'echi, that the Loilif said Balabai, that the Balabai shouldn't get less because of this guy leaving his job early. The Omar of Menyumi brother of Nechumi, another thing, Kupa Saba Palga, when the guy planted the trees, and now some of the trees got old and they're not good anymore for fruit and use it for firewood. So the one who planted it gets half because he goes into the field, al das that. Shot for Nora, if the river took away these trees, river, he only gets a quarter, like we said before. Because he ruins the trees and he makes them not grow fruit for many years. So he only gets a quarter. Au Gavra, this person, the Mashkin Paradisa Lachavre, that he gave a vineyard or orchard to his friend as a mashkin. Last Shoni for 10 years, the cash and it became dry, and Rashi explains that it wasn't a chiddush, it happened when it became old already. The Chomesh Shonim after 5 years. Abaye Omar, Perave, it's like fruit, and the Malva will have this mashkin to cut all the trees and use them for firewood. Rav Amar, no, Karna have it, it's like capital. Vilkach boy Karkan, with these trees you sell it and you buy with another piece of land. Paris, and the Malva could eat Paris until the time we agreed, and then the fruit, the land goes back to the Loiva. Basically, we have a kasha, it says, Yovesha Ilon, and it's mashkin, and the tree dried, the niktzat, so it got cut, Shnei Masurim boy. Both the Malva and the Loiva can't use it for firewood. So what should they do with it? Incorrelating, they should sell it to someone else for firewood. With the money, the money they buy a land, and the Malva continues to eat Paris. My love, or we're not talking about Yovish, I dried up doing the niktzat like it got cut, like he cut it. Man niktzat, like when you cut it bismano, you won't cut it when it's still bringing fruit. Af Yovish, also when it dried up, bismano, when it was normal for it to dry up. And it's like planned, exactly the case that we had before. We say we don't use, the Malva is not allowed to use this dry wood for firewood. You have to sell it and buy a land. Alma, what do we see? Karnava, we consider it as capital. And not like what Abaye said, that you could use the trees for firewood. Said the Gemara, no, don't ask me a kasha from this. Niktzot, do me the opposite. The cutting happened like when it dried. My yovesh, like when a tree normally dries below his manoi, it's normally when something dries and it's not like wasn't expected. Afnik, so it's also when it got cut off below his manoi. Someone cut it off or something happened. I don't know what happened, but it got cut before its time, before it stopped producing. And therefore, since the Bryce is talking about such a case where it wasn't planned, then it's like the capital that we say we buy karka. But if it was planned and we knew that after 5 years these trees won't bring Paris anymore, that was so for sure the Malva could have all these trees for firewood, and we don't have no raya. Toshma, I have a different raya. It says noflok fonim v'zeisim skenim, a woman who was married and her father passed away and she got Yerusha of grape trees and olive trees, old ones that you doesn't have Paris, Kofyuto Modalef, incorrelating, they should sell it for firewood. V'ilokach ben karka, with the money you buy a piece of land, v'uoiche Paris, and he'll eat the Paris of this land like nechsemiluk. So we could see that the trees, it says over here that they got old trees, it didn't suddenly become old, and we can see that you look at it as capital, not as Paris. So the Gemara let's explain the Brisa that it's not skenim, it means that they became old suddenly, and that's why it's considered like capital. But if it was trees that became the normal time for them to become old, enochinam, it's considered like Paris. The Yiboy say, I'll tell you another turret. Slavni okimno lahi, did we not explain that Brisa over there is talking about Kigoin Chinofrulo Besoda Acheres the Kokali Karna, it's talking about the Gemara in Ksubas explained that Bryce is talking about where these trees are not in a land that belongs to her, in a land that belongs to someone else, and the whole ownership was only in the trees. So therefore, when they became old, really it could be that they talking about skenim and it was a normal time. But if you're going to use a Paris, so if you're going to use it as firewood for the husband, there'll be nothing left for the woman afterwards, because he's going to use all firewood, and when he gets divorced or dies, he won't have anything to give it back. That's why we say yilokach beim karka. But in the case where there is a land connected to it, and it became old in the normal time, for sure you could sell it, and it's just considered like Paris, the Malva, or the husband could use these trees, because there's a land left for the woman or for the loiva, and therefore it's not considered kokalia karna. Thank you very much, and I hope you hear Pseris Tuvis and remember these Gemaras, and we do Chazorah and understand it to the depthness of it. Thank you.